Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast with your hostess, Amanda Moxley. And today we have Jeff Griffen, who is an incredible speaker, motivational speaker. I'm going to read his bio. He deserves a formal introduction. So, Jeff played in the 2004 Paralympic Games in Athens, Greece, and is a silver medalist for the USA men's wheelchair basketball team. He is a national champion who played for the Utah Wheeling Jazz and is a four-time All-Star MVP in the house. He was the #1 men's wheelchair tennis player. Okay, so you've just done it all in the state of Utah and won the St. George Marathon. I love it. Jeff also has 2 Guinness Book of World Records. He earned his master's degree in education and curriculum and created a worldwide peer-to-peer leadership program for third world countries, which is recognized in the United Nations in New York. Jeff took these Flexa Gold and forged them into gold nuggets, such as workshops, online courses, high-level coaching, the possibility principle, dream weaving, daily dime, and 252 tools and packages. Package them into essential leadership skills, resilience hacks, and proven processes to help high-level leaders like you and me regain control of knowing where to go and what to do. Welcome. That is a
Boom.
huge intro.
I'm
That's a
telling you,
huge,
you did that better than anyone else has.
really? Thank you. Well,
Absolutely.
that was incredible. And I'm going to just go and tell the story. So I met Jeff at about a month ago, and the story that you guys don't see is that he came into this party in a wheelchair. And it was an all-white party. Everyone was dressed in white. It was a fancy, luxurious $2 million house. And there he is. And then all of a sudden he stands up and walks down the stairs. And I was talking to your beautiful wife. My mind is blown because I'm like, he was just in a wheelchair. Now he's walking down the stairs. And I proceeded to tell her that the night before I had a dream that there was someone in their wheelchair. They got up and they walked. And there I met you. So this is a divine appointment. And I cannot wait for you to share who you are and all the good things. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amanda. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to shine a little light on what you do. Again, I always people are like, oh man, Griff, you look so good. And you have this opportunity to be on stage and do all these things, but really it's the other people behind the scene. It's those who have an audience, that have a tribe, who've done all the hard work. And I'm just really sitting on the shoulders of giants. And so, Amanda, thank you so much for allowing me to sit on your shoulders for a while and to shine a little bit of light on what you're doing, what I'm doing, and really seeing if we can help these individuals climb their mountains, give their heart a reason to beat, and chase after their dreams. Because, as you mentioned, I am in a wheelchair, absolutely, and I speak all over the world. And I've been compared to Tony Robbins, but at the fraction of the price. So others are like, Griff, you're as motivating as David Goggins without the mouth. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's good.
Others are like, hey, listen, you're as inspiring as John Maxwell. I'm like, yeah, that's good. They are them and I am me. And the world needs me just like the world needs you. And just like the world needs everyone who is listening right now. Everybody has a song inside their soul that needs to be sung, that needs to be heard, and you can't hear it unless you play it. And so I get to go around the world and speak. And like you mentioned, I am in a wheelchair, and so I address the elephant in the room when I come out on stage. I'm like, let's just
Yeah.
address the elephant about how good looking I am. And
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, might as well. Okay. But you're not just in a wheelchair because you also walk. So it's a combo. So why don't you just kind of start? How did you become a motivational speaker and an Olympian?
yeah, absolutely. And so I ever since I was a little kid, I dreamt about playing on the big stage. I wanted to play on the big stage, and I grew up in Cache Valley, and I was a football player, and that's the song that's hanging inside my soul, and I wanted to play that, and I carried the football everywhere I went, and so I kept on chasing down my dream. Was able to, I was recruited by Lavelle Edwards to go and play at BYU, and everyone was like, first of all, everyone was a little upset that I wanted to go play at BYU because I'm from Cache Valley, where they breed them to hate them down there. Second of all, they were a little upset that I got an invitation because I thought they were giving
Yeah.
them out to everybody. And so I tasted the sweetness of success, got to experience what it would be like to be on the first team, got to experience what it would be like to be on the field, not just in the stadium. But in
Wow.
between seasons, I broke my back. And that changed my life. My whole identity was wrapped up in my physicality. My whole, that's who I was. I was a football player, and I had spent my whole life developing that, trying to get bigger, faster, and stronger. And then I got to taste the sweetness of success, and it was just stripped out from underneath me. And I
Wow.
found myself next to an unpainted barn, just fallen 40 feet from some scaffolding there in the fields of Napoleon Dynamite country in Preston, Idaho. And my dreams of playing football
Ah,
shattered in an instant. And so I'm like, oh, now what? You can only imagine. I went into tailspin. I entered that sauna of self-pity. And and you asked, well, how did I become an Olympian and how did I do these things? Well, for me, it was I had to exit the sauna of self-pity. I had to
yeah.
exit that sauna that I went into, and I had to deal with those demons that I experienced, and I had to reinvent who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And I didn't realize that there was another stage to play on,
Mm.
and that was the world stage. And I'm not just talking about the Paralympic stage that I got to play in Athens, Greece, and experience all that, but there's a whole other stage out there that we don't understand and we can't see. And so kind of going
Mm.
back to what I was mentioning before, I do address the elephant on stage, which is people can see that I'm in a wheelchair, but I've learned that most of us, Amanda, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency, which keeps us stuck in that shit chair, that keeps us stuck in the
Ooh.
place where we are, that keeps us stuck from conducting and orchestrating that song that sings inside our soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned some lessons
Wow.
along the way after falling 40 feet, entering that sauna of self-pity, and then exiting it. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give my heart a reason to beat. I'm going to live a life that takes my breath away instead of barely breathing and calling it a life.
Mm-hmm. So good. The sauna and self-pity. How long were you in it?
Yeah, the sauna of self-pity was an ugly, dark, syrupy, sticky place that we all go to.
Yeah.
It's not the best place to go to because whenever we deal with challenges and setbacks and heartache and hurt and pain, we kind of we want it to go away from everyone. We want
Right.
to be alone and
Isolate.
isolate. Absolutely. And that's not a great place to be and a great place to go. For me, fortunately for me, I was only there for a couple of weeks. When
Oh,
they stopped feeding me in the hospital, in bed,
whoa.
in bed.
Whoa.
And so the only way I could eat is to get out of bed. And it took me a half an hour to get out of bed. And so here I am, just discouraged because everything that used to take me a few seconds as an athlete was now
Yeah.
causing me to struggle. And I needed other people to help me. And I couldn't even get out of bed by myself. And now I have to, roll down the sterile halls of the hospital to go get something to eat. And I'm just having this major pity party. My, tears are
Mhm.
rolling down my cheeks. I'm feeling sorry for myself. And the irony of this whole thing is, like I said, I was in the sauna for a couple of weeks, but there was a prisoner at the hospital that was doing some therapy,
Mhm.
and he happened to sit next to me in the cafeteria that day and asked me a
Wow.
question that set me free from my prison. So here we have a prisoner asking me a question that sets me free from my prison. And some people are like,
Ah,
what's the question? What's the question? What's the question?
yeah.
How'd you do that? And yeah, the question that he asked me is, after going through that line, getting some food, and I want to go to the corner of the cafeteria because I want to be left alone. Just leave me alone. Let me just
Mm.
wallow in this crap that I'm experiencing right now. And I'm just focusing on all the things that I couldn't do anymore. I was just focusing on all the things that I struggled at and everything that was taken away from me. And I sit in the corner of the cafeteria. I'm flavoring the food with my tears. And then this tray just plops in front of me and it's the prisoner. And I look at him and he looks at me and I'm about to tell him to take a hike when he asks that question that changed my life forever. And the question that he asked me, Amanda, was, right, dude. And
What?
I'm like, what? Exactly. I'm like, what? And he's like, right, dude. He was lifting weights in prison, had an aneurysm, paralyzed from the right side of his body, couldn't speak. And in his
Oh.
slurred speech, I finally recognized what he was saying. And the question that he was asking me was, why are you crying, dude?
Mm.
And that simple question just flipped the switch and caused me to reframe. It caused me to exit that sound of self-pity. And I started to look at things that what I could do instead of what I couldn't do. And
Right.
and things that I wasn't seeing and paying attention to before and prior, I was just blinded. I was just
Mm.
living in my own little world. I was just, woe is me. I'm like, oh, this is so horrible. How am I going to live life? I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't run. I can't walk. I can't get out of my bed. I can't. And I looked, and all of a sudden that question just snapped me out of my pity party. And I looked down the table, and there's a man who can't even feed himself. He's paralyzed from the neck down, broke his neck. He has a halo screwed to his skull, can't even feed himself. He is dependent on everybody. And here's me, somebody who can move his arms, feed himself, get dressed, even though it takes forever. I can give hugs. I can receive hugs. I can do things that this gentleman
Mhm.
down the table couldn't do. And I'm like, oh, it could be worse.
Right.
It could be worse. And at that moment, I realized it could be better. If it could be
Okay.
worse, it can be better. And
Mm.
that's when it just everything changed for me. That's when I exited the song of self-pity. That's when I started to focus on what I could do instead of what I couldn't do. And
Mhm.
that's made all the difference in my life. It's taken me all around the world. It's allowed me to play on the big stage. It's allowed me to, be one of the youngest trust managers at the bank that I used to work for. It allowed me to, I was given a life sentence to never walk, never stand, never move my legs again. But as you mentioned,
What?
at the end of my speech, I can get up out of my chair, I can walk across the stage or waddle with swagger and show
Uh-huh.
people that these demons can be dealt with, these dragons can be slayed. And the experts gave me a 0% chance of having kids. They're like, Griff, this is the first function to go, last to come back. You're not
Oh
gonna have
my
any
gosh.
kids. And so here I've been given all this news and all these things saying that I can't do this, can't do that. Some of the experts said that I wasn't going to get married, not because of my wheelchair, but just because of who I am. But I am happy to announce that my wife and I are celebrating 27 years this year. We have
Wow.
4 beautiful biological kids, and I get up out of my chair, and I get to walk across that stage and just demonstrate that the impossible really is possible if we have the courage,
Mhm.
if we have the faith, and if we have that mindset to
Mhm.
do things that people tell us that we can't do.
So good. Oh my goodness. Okay, so a lot of people, they don't have these physical limitations, but they have those demons of doubt and destruction and fear and all the can'ts. They're living on can't street, won't street, etc.
Mhm.
So what would be the first thing that you would do to help someone? Maybe they've been trying in their business for a while and they haven't reached their income goal, or they haven't been able to get their fulfilling dream that they've desired.
Mhm. So you're asking what's the first thing that we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, because what's interesting here is I go speak all over the world. I just got done speaking in Berlin at the YPO Global Leadership training there, and working with some of the biggest CEOs were in that room. The guy who put it together, he's like, Griff, I've never seen a room full of CEOs so engaged. They weren't on their phones. They weren't doing everything else that they had to do. They were just eating out of your hands. How'd you do it? You're like,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
are a mensch. And I'm like, I thought he was swearing at me. I'm like, let's go. Let's fight. I don't even know what a mensch is. I'm like, I had to like ask people. I'm like, what's a mensch?
Yeah.
And so I worked with, I work with these kind of companies, and I work with individuals who are struggling, and I work with companies who hit the ceiling. I worked with one company that, the owner was the son of the previous owner, and he took the company from 5 million to 50, and he was hitting the ceiling, and it's like, we can't get any bigger. We can't grow.
Wow.
What's going on here? And I've learned that the same constraint that is with these CEOs in Berlin and this owner of a plumbing company and these individuals that I get to coach, the constraint is the same everywhere I go. And that is the ability to
Mm.
believe that it's possible, to believe that you
Mhm.
can do it, to believe that change can take place, to believe that there's a solution. And what's interesting is every minute we doubt it's possible, we give up 60 seconds in finding the solution.
Oh, this is so good. It's so true. I was not expecting you to say believe. However, I know that to be a fact, but a lot of people don't. They think it's, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. But honestly, so how do we build our belief?
Yeah.
Because if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.
100%. 100%. And so you just have to be slapped in the face. You got to be
Mhm.
knocked. Something has to happen. Change happens, I've learned, in the fastest, one of two ways. An emotional experience, like an emotional, impactful experience, whether it's negative or positive. If you think back in your life, negative change took place because of a negative experience and emotional impact that took place. The other way is consistent and a resilient routine. So
Okay.
so the solution to pollution is dilution. So you've got to put more good in than the
Mhm.
negative that's going in. And
Right.
so again, the solution to pollution is dilution. You've got to put more of what you want out in. And we as
Mhm.
individuals don't do that. And so what happens here is we have all these tools and all these skills, like saying, listen, this is revolutionary. This is going to change your life. Here, have this. But we don't work on our mindset. We don't work on flipping the switch and reframing things and working with our mindset. And so all we do is we just keep on using the same tools, these new tools, the same way we have in the past.
Right.
And and
Okay.
and so
New tools
new
or
tools. And
same tool. New tools or old tools in a different way.
so what I get to do is I get to come in with these companies and with these individuals and just share this impossible story of never
Mhm.
walking, never standing. And again, eliminating everybody's excuses. I was
Right.
working with a bank, 60 relationship managers. Their desire, their target that year was to bring in 400 million new dollars. They had never hit that level before. They never hit that number. And so they brought in they're doing their training and they're doing all these things. And so I had an opportunity to share with them the three gold nuggets, or the three
Mm.
Ds, as I call them, that are at the
Okay.
foundation of every problem. Or as I like to say, is at the foundation of every solution, because every minute we doubt it's possible, we give up 60 seconds and find the solution. But
So good.
our society has taught us to focus on the problems, to identify the problems, to define the problems, and just do all these things with the problems. It's the fastest way to sell. Fear is a great way to sell. But it's like, okay, but great. That's awesome. We can identify what the challenge is, but now let's look at the solution. Let's take a
Mhm.
look at the solutions here. But the problem is, the problem isn't the problem, because we all have problems. The problem
Mm.
is you.
Mm.
And the
True.
problem is me. And the good news is the solution is you too. And so
Mhm.
we have to realize that we have the ability to solve these problems, that we have the ability to take responsibility and accountability for our problems and our challenges. And once we do that, it flips and it changes. And it's like, okay, it's me. I'm the problem. I am the problem. And as soon as we
Yeah.
take responsibility for our circumstances and we're like, you know what? Great. Yeah, this is a challenge. This is a difficult setback. This is whatever it is. No one has done this yet. Um, but we're going to figure it out. There is a solution. Once we change
Yes.
that and flip the mindset, it's like, boom, yes. And so again, going back to this example, they're like $400 million. We can't do this. And so I shared the 3 Ds to this group, and I shared the story, this impossible story of never walking, never standing, and then getting up out of my chair and walking across the room.
Wow.
The senior VP was there, and she's like, you need to come talk to my executive team. A year later, I went back to this group of 60 relationship managers. And I'm like, hey, listen, I just want to know how well you guys did last year. And the VP's secretary is like, Griff, I don't know what Shiva told you, what the number was, but we ended up with 530 million this year.
Oh, wow. That's an incredible increase.
Huge
40
increase.
million. to
They
530.
Well, they hadn't even hit 40 million yet. They had never done it before. They were concerned that they would never get there. They're like, we can't do this. There's no way we can do it, because we as individuals, we reject what we don't know, and we reject what we don't understand, and we base our possibilities on what we know.
Yeah.
And so if we've never been somewhere before, we're like, yeah, I don't know if we can do that. No. We just want to reject. We just want to go back to what we understand and what we know. And if we want to go someplace we've never been before, it's just the unknown. And so we
Mhm.
have to overcome that limiting belief of, well, there is a solution. There is a solution. And most people, it's so inside of us to be skeptical and to come up with all the reasons why we can't, because we've been told our whole lives we can't. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't.
Yeah.
And can't is so poisonous. It's debilitating. It's limiting. And as soon as we tell ourselves we can't, we shut
Mhm.
down every possibility of coming up with a solution, because the mind just
Right.
accepts it.
Okay. That is enormous. So you're saying your input determines your output. Your solution, the solution
To
to pollution
pollution,
is dilution. So what are some things are you thinking? Do you say affirmations, or you're just focusing on the possibility? Like, give me a case, give me an example. Okay. Possibility. Instead of focusing on the pain, focus on the possibility.
what has to happen here is you got to understand what success is in the first place. Most of us don't know what success is.
Okay. Okay.
And everyone defines success differently. And what's interesting is sometimes we can find out what something is by what it isn't.
Yeah, true.
And
Contrast.
yeah, and so I always like to ask my audience, like, okay, well, what's the opposite of success? And everyone will tell me that the opposite of success is failure.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as I do that I've never met anyone who has not failed their way to success. And failure is part of success. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. It's how we discover. And experimentation is part of the process. Thomas
Yes.
Edison 10,000 times before he
Yeah.
finds the light bulb. And so again, it's like, okay, no. First of all, you've got to understand what success is. And so success has a 3-part series to it. It's
Okay.
KFC. KFC.
Okay.
It's not the Kentucky Fried Chicken that we all know of that's finger looking good, even
Mm.
though this is finger looking good once you understand it. But it's KFC, and success has a 3-part series. And the first part is no. You've got to know what you want.
Okay.
And then the F is you've got to finish what you start.
Mm.
And then the C is you've got to celebrate the process.
Yeah.
And most people don't even know step number 1, which is
Mm-hmm.
know what they want. They
Yeah.
don't know what they want. And if they throw a number out there like, yeah, I really don't believe it. I would like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I don't believe it. It's just, I'm just doing what you're telling me to do. But it's because, you don't know what your dream is. You don't know what you truly want. And so what's interesting with all this coaching that I'm doing, I'm working with these people who have built their business, made their millions, have impacted hundreds of lives around them, and they're confused
Mm-hmm.
and lost because they don't know what they want. They thought they did. They were told that this is going to bring them happiness. They were told
Mm-hmm.
that this world over here is going to be so amazing. And they never did the work. They never did the heavy lifting to find out what was inside their soul. They never took the time
Mm-hmm.
to really figure out what that dream is, that vision, that song that sings inside their soul. And it's
True.
because no one has taught them. And what's interesting, all the greats out there, Dean Graziosi, you got to know your why. Why? Simon
Mm-hmm.
Sinek, you got to know your why, and all these people, but they don't teach you how to do it. And so these past 20 years, working with some of the harshest critics called teenagers,
Oh
we've
yeah.
discovered a tool and a process that's predictable, repeatable, and proven. And it just happens. We get results, and we call it dream weaving. In as
Oh,
little as 10 minutes, we can figure out what you want on a subconscious level. It doesn't
that's
happen that
good.
fast. Typically, the first time it's like 90 minutes to 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
where we go inside and we get that visceral experience to really find out what it is that lights you up, that you truly want. And we go subconscious and
Mm.
And it's just a beautiful experience that happens here. And you and I were talking
Mhm.
before this that, I ran across my new friend from Cambridge University, a neuroscientist who has discovered how to find what you want on a molecular level. He goes to the DNA. They've discovered 54 strands that were predisposed, that motivates us and excites us and gets us excited. And so he's gone molecular. I go subconscious. We're combining our tools
Mhm.
together to where they cross. And it's like, yes,
That's cool.
I've got this over here. I've got my cells telling me this. I've got my subconscious telling me this. And you just light up, and it's like a completely different world that you're living
Mhm.
in once you're lit up, once you're doing what you want to do, and
Yes.
it's what you want to do.
Love this. I love it. Okay. Exactly. Know what you want, finish what you start, and celebrate the process.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, they'll be like, well, I didn't get it. So, and they don't celebrate, and then they feel like a failure and they quit before they're there. So I'm a big fan of celebration. So you were alluding to these, like, I think you said 4Ds or 5Ds. Can you tell
Three
us a little
Ds.
bit about
Simple.
3Ds? Let's keep it simple. What are they?
Simple Ds.
I
Three
like the
Ds.
KFC finger licking good.
It is finger licking good. And so know what you want, finish what you start, and celebrate the process. But the 3Ds that are at the foundation is desire, dream, and do.
Okay.
Super, super simple. But just like the Navy SEALs taught me when I went and trained with them in 2019, they're like, Griff, it's simple to be a SEAL. It's just not easy. And
Mhm.
I'm like, yes, absolutely. These gold nuggets are simple. They just aren't easy. A lot of people don't know even what a desire is. And so what
Mhm.
we do is we dissect what a desire is. We take a look at the anatomy of a dream, and then we give some things, some concrete things that we can do to get us there. But the problem is most of us skip the first two, the desires and the dreams, and want to go straight to the do. Just give me it. Just give it to me. Just give it to me, Griff.
Right.
And I'm like, I can.
Mhm.
Here you go. But you're going to continue to do what you've done in the past unless you understand how you get results, unless you understand how your desires are going to impact your decisions, how your programming has impacted your decisions, how they'll
Mhm.
continue to impact your decisions. And if you're unaware of how this happens, then you're just going to continue to do what you've done before in the past. And so
Mhm.
desire, dream, and do are the three gold nuggets, the 3Ds that are the foundation of every solution out there.
I love it. So good. So, what would you tell someone who maybe they were going down the wrong path, right? Now they have some consequences. They didn't know what they were doing. Like a lot of people, right? They did the right thing. They got to college. They did all these things, and now they're in like midlife, and they're like, now I have all this weight and all this stuff, and it's not what I want. But it's not like they can just abandon it all and just go and fly off and do what they really want to do, right? Follow their dream because they have responsibilities and they have their work and they have all these things. Well, there's a lot of people that I've coached that are in this spot, and it's really hard for them to have the mobility to make their moves. What would you,
Yeah.
because they're kind of buried by midlife,
Yeah,
sadly.
yeah. They're down the path where they feel like, I can't abandon this. I can't start over. I can't do all these
Yeah.
things. I want to push you just a little bit because I've had, I get to preach what I practice, and
Mm,
instead of just practicing what I preach. And for me, as was mentioned, I was a trust manager to begin with, and I'm like, these numbers are not bringing me satisfaction at all.
right.
And so I went and was an educator for 17 years, and that was very fulfilling. And I loved it, but I could only impact about 300 people per year. So I loved what I
Mhm.
did, but couldn't do what I loved. And I started to begin speaking. More and more people was starting to hear my message and starting to hear about the results that I was getting in the classroom, getting, on the stage as well. And so without any marketing, without anything, people were just starting to come to me and ask me more and more, will you come speak? Can you speak? Can you come speak? And so I came to the point where I'm at the crossroads. I'm like, okay, either I continue to speak or I continue to teach. I don't want to do both because
Mhm.
I really feel like this is my mission, this is my calling to get out there and help people overcome these demons, these dragons of doubt, fear, and complacency. And so, I was not very financially smart. I had just moved, I doubled the size of my house. I just moved to doubled my house, doubled my mortgage payments. My
Yeah.
kids were with me. And you always hear that, the not John Candy, but fat guy in a little suit. Who's that guy? Chris Farley.
Oh yeah.
So Chris Farley,
Down by the river?
yes, the motivational speaker down by the river. And I'm like,
Yeah.
living in a van. I'm like, listen, I can handle this. I can handle living on the street if this does not work for me, but I can't leave my wife and 4 kids out on the street. I'm not going to leave them in the van. And so I was at this very place that you're talking about, where it's like, okay, I'm 17 years. I only have a few more years. I can retire and then I can do this and that. But I'm like, it's not the song that's inside my soul. It's not my passion. It's not my dream. It's not what my calling is. And so I just had to make a decision to jump. And fortunately for me, I had a spouse. One night she turned to me and she's like, Jeff, I know you're going to jump with or without me, but I want to let you know that I'm willing to jump with you. And
That's so sweet.
yeah, 100%. So she's like, I'm ready to jump. So we jumped. And the first year, I left in November of 2017. I didn't make a dime until May of 2018. I wanted to get 26 paid speeches that year. We ended up with 46 paid speeches for peanuts and pennies.
Okay.
The next year
Gotta start somewhere.
we went to 60 speeches and we tripled our revenue. And we're turning our nickels into dimes, and things were running and things were hitting, a good stride. And so I'm like, in 2020, I'm going to decrease my speeches, but increase my revenue, triple my revenue again. And I didn't realize that, that COVID was coming. No one did.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to reduce my speeches that much.
Yeah.
And it hit, but because of the results I was getting, I was able to do it over Zoom.
Yeah.
Figure some things out. And so what would I say to people who are like halfway in their career and they're like, this is not what I want? I would say, do what you want, figure it out. And it's not just figuring it out, because there's people who know how to do it, that can speed the process up, that can help you figure out some of the hurdles and some of the setbacks that you're going to experience on your own. But I would say you're not living. And you're not at capacity unless you're doing what you're supposed to do. I always say, I'm like, when's the last time you allowed yourself to dream? When's the last time you slowed down enough to like weave that tapestry of dreams that's going to hang on somebody else's social media wall? When are you going to stop living somebody else's dream and start living your own? And my favorite that I always like to ask people is, are you barely breathing and calling it a life? Or are you living a life that takes your breath away?
Ooh, so good. Yes, so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Living a life that takes your breath away. Amen. Amen. I mean, I'm in mid-age. I'll be 50. I shouldn't even date myself, but I will be 50 one day.
Good for you.
In 9 months, I will be. And
you look great for nearly 50. You're not there yet.
I feel really great. But this realization, I don't think I got this before. Like, people are dying. Like, this means average lifespan, I've got 22, 25 years left. Now, granted, my grandparents lived till their 90s hundos, but who knows? And I'm planning to go to 125. My point is, you guys, there's not a lot of time. Time is short. And I'm 100% with you that it's like, do it. So how do we get a hold of you? Like, I know everybody here wants to go do your dreamscape, and I want to go in there and get the molecular and the subconscious and all the things. How do we continue this? There's people from all over the world, and I know you have a virtual platform as well. So how do we do it?
If you're on Instagram, you can come find me at Jeff Griffen 10. That's the same as in LinkedIn. Jeff Griffen 10 is on LinkedIn. My Facebook is, I think, Jeff Griffen, but the easiest way to find me is just to go to my website at Griffen Motivation, Griffin motivation.com. And if you go /shop, that's where all the tools are that you can get all the information. One thing that we have not talked about, and I want to just gift everybody who's listening, who wants to go there, who will actually like go to www.griffmotivation.com /shop, and you go down to the possibility principle. On my shop, it's $10, $9.95, and I shouldn't have it at that price because it is priceless. And the possibility principle is the footings that the foundation sits on. The possibility principle will help you with developing that desire that matches up with your dream, that allows you to open up the floodgates of imagination. The possibility principle teaches you what success is, and to give yourself permission to fail, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit. And so if you go to the website and you go to the shop and you click on the possibility principle, and if you enter in the coupon code P2, that's just a P and a 2, the number 2. And so it's just P2. It's just two digits, P and a 2. That will give it to you for free. And this possibility principle is what really is going to make all the difference. It's what's going to change your mindset. It's going to help you reprogram that stinking thinking, as Zig Ziglar calls it. It helps you, deal with the opposition to your optimism, because we all deal with those conflicting desires. And
yes.
And last but certainly not least, I want to just share this with you. It teaches you what hope is. People say that you can't live on hope, that you can't
Right.
have success with hope, and all these other things. And I'm like, you don't understand what hope is. And if
Yeah,
you read the book, sorry, go ahead.
Tell us what hope is.
So if you read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, love the book, love what she wrote. She talks about the West Point Academy cadets, how they got there, how they stayed, and how they got through the attrition rate, because there's a huge attrition rate that happens at West Point Academy. And she came up with the solution that it was grit. And then she concluded that gritty people are hopeful people. And I love her book, but I think that Angela has this backwards. She has this upside down. And I believe that hopeful people are gritty people. And to me, hope is the ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams and bring it back to the present, in spite of your past, in spite of your failures, in spite of your challenges, in spite of your problems, in spite of all those times that you did not succeed or you did not get what you wanted. But you're able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and take those steps into the future long before you ever see the end. And again, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard, but so many of us want to consume it all at once. And we don't realize that it's a process, and it's that process that helps us progress, and it's not the promise. But we abort the process and focus on the promise. And so go get your possibility principle. It's free to whomever is listening right now. If you want to grab the books as well, and you get 2 books, shipping is free, and to throw in a little bit of love. I know I'm throwing out all this stuff to your listeners, but I just want to give.
Thank you.
But if you throw in the coupon code LOVE, LOVE, we'll knock off 50% on your books. And so it's like buy one, get one free. It's shipping is free. And
So you've written books also.
Right behind me, I've got
I
2
didn't know
books that
what are they called?
So the first one's called I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, Do. It's kind of the introduction to the 3Ds. It's the story of chasing after your dreams, obtaining it, having them taken away, discovering the process of how to dream new dreams, and then duplicating it over and over and over again. And so that's the genesis. So I shared my story in the first book, and the second book's called Endless Possibilities. And that's the tool that helps you reprogram. That's the tool that helps you do the daily dime. That's the tool that helps you really develop this desire that's true, that's desperate, that's deliberate, that will help you, get to your destination. And so those are the 2 that I've finished. I've got 2 more in the works, but listen.
Incredible. I want to get these. I'll definitely buy them. I'm a big fan of books. I'm loving this. Just, it all comes down, like you said, to the belief. I mean, it comes down to all these principles, but for me, the big takeaway is believe. And it's hard to consistently hold the belief to be honest. It is. It's just, but I use the story of the Israelites. It's like going into the promised land and they kept doubt, talk about demons of defeat, doubt, and complacency. They wanted I could go on a whole thing, but I love this. And this is what you need. If you guys have heard me talk about that principle, you need his book. So griffinmotivation.com/shop, and then go to the books, and then the code is love for 50% off.
And
Right.
P2 for the possibility principle.
Okay.
And
then
again,
freebie. Yeah.
the possibility principle is so profound. I'm telling you right now that it really should be $1,000, that possibility principle, but it's so valuable and so priceless. I'm like, just get it, just do it for 21 days. Just begin, just start the process, because it is such a beautiful thing that happens. And then something flips inside of us. And also we're like, I get it. It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 21 days, it might be 90 days, but it happens where you're like, yes, I get it. I get it.
Well, if this is the same principle that helped your clients make 5 million to 50 million, or the 40 million, they went from something to 40 million, or was it
400? So they went from 50 million to 210 million in 2 years. The other company was hoping to get 400 million. They exceeded it by 130. Another company, was lacking 45 out of their 80 million that they're trying to get. Not only did they hit their 80, but they exceeded it by 10. And the company bought into the new process that they're trying to implement and to put into place. And it just happens over and over and over and over and over again. And so it's just like, hey, listen, let's double your earnings. Let's impact your world. Let's master your mindset, because that is where it's at.
Right. It is 80% is mindset. And then there's another stat, and then we'll wrap it up. But 98% of what we're doing is subconscious. We're not even conscious. We're using 2% consciously, actually thinking. So this will help you all think. Run. If you have the ability to run and grab this at griffinmotivation.com. So /shop. Thank you so much. I am very inspired. I'm like, give it all to me. It's so good. Yay. Don't have that, but thank you so much for showing up. You guys, be sure to watch the next video and subscribe to all the things, YouTube-y things, and then click his link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.